So, if you're not a longtime fan of the channel, you might not know that the Shafrillis channel was created by two people, me and Chris. Longtime fans, however, should know Chris from our SpongeBob live action videos where he plays Patrick. We stole a balloon! Plus, he helped me review a couple movies last year, like Aladdin and Spider-Boy, Far From the Ones Who Abandoned You, Chasing the Love of These Humans Who Made You Feel Wanted. But yeah, what started as a joint channel for us to post our high school digital media projects turned into mostly just me making YouTube poops and analysis videos, with Chris kinda just chilling on the side. But guess what? Chris actually made a new video after all these years. So, here's a little recurring series I guess we'll call Chris Talks, where Chris talks about the stuff he likes. Like Jojo, something I know nothing about, so I'm gonna vamoose and let him do his thing. Don't worry, I've got my own video coming out later this week, so I'll be back soon. But until then, take it away, Chris.
Why do I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Well, it's a question that I feel needs answering. So in today's video, I'd figure I'd tell you all why I love the series so much. But let's begin with a little backstory. I remember the first time JoJo was ever brought to my attention. A pal of mine had told me I'd love the series and showed me some memes for it. Well, when I finally did get around to watching it, Battle Tendency only had about 4 episodes left. Needless to say, I fell in love with the aesthetics, the battles, and the pure unadulterated bullshit Joseph would pull out of his ass to save the world from a buff Aztec vampire and god known as Cars. When Battle Tendency finished airing here in the United States, I was so excited for Stardust Crusaders, then I just couldn't find it at all. And so JoJo had slipped into the dark recesses of my mind until about the middle of 2 years ago, 2018, when while browsing the PlayStation Store, I came across Eyes of Heaven. And from there, playing the game, I fell back in love with the series. And here we are. My first and possibly last JoJo video. So let's start with aesthetics. Both Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency give off some amazing vibes for the time periods they're set in. I especially love Dio's castle, granted it is somewhat based off of Castlevania, but the mysterious, spooky, and general sense of hopelessness you get is amazing. This trend of background aesthetics being impressive for the respective time period continues through to JoJolion today. Part 2, you have Air Cyclina Island, Switzerland, and Old Rome, which just looks beautiful. Stardust Crusaders, you have a bunch of cities, and Egypt especially looks very good, and you get a sense of a bustling city like Cairo is as people go about their business despite a beheaded vampire trying to kill his adoptive human brother's great-grandson and great-great-grandson. Now, with aesthetics out of the way, let's move on to something a little more human. By human, I mean the good old characters in the universe. While certainly not every character across each part is going to be unique or groundbreaking, Araki does a pretty darn good job of fleshing out the characters. One of my favorite side characters is Polnareff, who, after simply just wanting to avenge his sister since he knows his killer works for Dio, he eventually befriends Jotaro in the gang and becomes a staunch and dependable ally to the group. Sounds a lot like somebody we know from part 4. Then of course, there's Jotaro, who goes from an angsty 17-year-old that hates everyone to a man hell-bent on keeping his family safe and annihilating everything Dio related. Wait a minute. That sounds all too familiar. Sounds a lot like Dio. Surely a coincidence. Well, maybe I wrote it down wrong. That Jotaro is hellbent, as in all honesty, he's just trying to uncover any last vestiges of Dio left in the world. I'm looking at you, Stone Ocean. Alright, now where was I? Oh, right. One of the things that I personally love, since I am a person who enjoys older music, basically the 70s onwards, is the naming scheme of some of the characters. Most villain characters, allies, even stands themselves, have music-related names. One of the biggest examples I can think of right off the top of my head is Dio Brando, named after Ronnie James Dio, a heavy metal musician, and Marlon Brando, an actor from the golden age of film, who was also Vito Corleone in The Godfather and starred in the 1953 version of Julius Caesar. Then, of course, you have best boy in the entire series, Speedwagon, who's named after the band REO Speedwagon. I mean, literally, Robert E.O. Speedwagon, REO Speedwagon, you can't make this up. Some more off the top of my head here, the entire Pillarmen cast is all named after bands from mainly the 80s. You got Santana, AC/DC, Wham, and the Cars for Saviento or Santana, AC/DC, Wamu, and Cars, Dire and Straitso being named after one of my favorite British rock bands, the Dire Straits, and famously, Kraftwerk, my all-time favorite band from Germany, being the name of a standing golden wind. There's an entire page on the JoJo wiki dedicated to the cultural references. I highly recommend checking it out. Now we're on to the final part, and what can only be called the most important part, or at least important, I don't know, I'm not in charge of your life, you do you. That would be plot. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure certainly is, well, a bizarre adventure, no matter which part you read or watch. We're talking vampires, we're talking Aztec bodybuilding gods, we're talking stopping a vampire you thought you killed 100 years ago and he now took over your grandfather's body. We're talking stopping a serial killer and also ghosts.
Hey, how's it going?
We're talking the entire universe being reset by a priest. We're talking a paralyzed man fighting the President of the United States over the corpse of Jesus Christ. We're talking whatever the hell is going on in Jojo right now. It's been a while since I read it. But Jojo got a lot for everyone. I think for me, it's just the zaniness and randomness of each part's storyline that reminds me of when I was a kid and I played WWE 12 and I'd mess around with all my stupid created characters and, had a lot of fun. But more than that, it's just a pretty darn good anime and pretty fun to read too. Sure, there's going to be differences between the anime and the manga, and it's going to be a little faster paced, but that's just what makes Jojo Jojo. Not everyone's going to have the same taste as you or I, or, even my neighbor. That's just how humanity works. And one of these days, James will probably watch it, and I just hope that when he does eventually watch it, he enjoys it. And here we are, the end of the video. Thank you guys and gals for watching this. Again, apologies first for this taking forever to be made. My job and time at home has been hectic even before 2020. And the fact that I know I sound really, really bored, but please don't take it that way. I actually enjoyed working on this. It's just this is how I sound because my work has drained the life out of me. I will say shameless Twitter time. You can follow me at Mr. Dr. Chris. You can follow James at Schaeferellis. And most importantly, you can follow whoever's editing this video. I really hope they put their stuff up because just huge props to them for getting this done, and a sincere thank you from me and probably everybody who's going to see this video as well as my Twitter followers. So again, thank you everybody. Hopefully the next one doesn't take as long. See you in the next one.